Hey guys, hope you're well. Welcome to our YouTube channel. I am Mwega. So today we're going to talk about the cost of construction in Kenya, and with us we are joined by PM Michael Lumadede and QS Choka to elaborate more and give various views on the cost of construction. And I urge you to sit back, relax, and enjoy, and kindly like, share, and subscribe, and turn on notifications.
So maybe we can start with you, Project Manager Lumadede. What would you tell that Kenyan who came to you and asked you, how much will it cost to build in Kenya right now?
Thank you, Matthew. I think from a start point, we need to appreciate one thing or another. And as we know, and I think this is a privilege for the people who work in the construction industry, is that the construction industry is a massive industry for that particular matter. And when you look at it from the economic perspective, its contribution into the GDP of any particular country cannot be underrated. And I think when you look at, and I think this is what we've taught you, when you look at the contribution of the industry in what we call the backward and the forward linkage, you can be able to appreciate how big the industry is and what kind of contribution then it gives in the economy. So definitely when there are changes in the economy, and I think this comes with when there's inflation or something like that, then it means every other particular sector that contributes into the construction industry will be affected. And that effect definitely is not in the fall of prices, but it will be in the rise of prices. So what I can say about the cost of building in Kenya, and not just in Kenya, but in the entire world, is that definitely when there are changes in the economic perspective, in that particular perspective, then the industry will experience that ripple effect. Definitely, if there's a rise in fuel, then everything else that depends on fuel. And you see, even if you're talking of mining sand or extracting stones from the quarry, then you can see that particular chain, there's fuel that is involved somewhere. So which means again that this has to be passed back to the consumer. The consumer definitely is the developer. And this will continue to be felt time and again, because at the end of it all, this again is a very lucrative industry when you look at it. And I keep on saying every other time, and I will not tire to say this, that it is an industry that everybody aspires to get into, professionals and non-professionals. For us who practice in government, and we are sort of doing regulation about the construction industry, again, you will see the interference that comes even from the political wing. So everybody else, with their interference that comes in, then again you find that the cost of construction goes up. It is not as controlled as it should be. Maybe for an introduction, that is what I can say. Thank you.
Great. QS Choka, how would you respond to a Kenyan who approached you and asked you as a QS, how much will it cost me right now to build in Kenya?
Okay, thank you, Matthew. I think CPM Lumadede has alluded to the effect of what the economy does when it comes to cost of construction. So my starting point will be, that is a very good question, and most clients actually will start a project by asking you what it will cost. You mentioned about 5 years ago and now, And a lot has changed. A lot has changed. And when you're looking at the spectrum of construction projects, it's a whole wide spectrum. And the nature of the client, it's a whole wide spectrum of clients. So when you talk about an individual client who wants to build a residential home, to major infrastructure projects or civil engineering works, there is a lot that affects the cost of construction. But let's say we are focusing on an average Kenyan with some income at his disposal, or maybe he's available to get there's a loan or financing available for him to do a simple residential building. That I will tell them, or I'll tell that individual that there is a lot that goes into the cost of construction. Economy, I think I will not add a lot to what Lumadede has talked about. Of course, where there is a recession or where there's economic growth, construction industry is the one that picks up when there's growth, and when the economy is affected by a recession or inflation or factors that impinge on the economy, the construction industry is also hit hard. Okay, so when you look at this individual wants to build a home or a residential, simple residential building, you'll find that one, because you're building on land, okay, and I would like us to look at it from the perspective of a building development cost, not just the cost of construction, because you have to acquire the land, and cost of land is affected also by very many factors, location. So you find that if the nearer you come to the CBD, the more the value or the higher the value of the land or the cost of the land. So the first issue is cost of land. So if you're building in an area that is far flung, of course, you're able to now you're guided on what the cost of land will be. If you're seeking finance to build, of course, there are interest rates currently that you need to be able to deal with as well. So you incorporate that into your project. Yeah. Then, of course, if you're talking about an individual that is building again, we have currently the global crisis, economic crisis, and more so the fuel prices. This is something that is affecting everyone, including those who are doing construction. Because if you look at the buildup of a construction rate or the costs that goes into an item of work, the way we build our rates in the bill of quantities, definitely, one of the costs is transport costs, because the cost of the material from the supplier. So if fuel goes up, it means the transport cost component goes up. Now, on your site, if you have plant and equipment as well, that cost of plant also goes up, all right? So that impinges on the cost of construction, okay? So fuel price increase has a major impact, apart from the cost of land, and also that as well affects the cost of construction. We also just coming out of a pandemic, and a lot of disruption has happened in supply chain. If it's a local builder, possibly you'll find that the prices are not the same as they were pre-COVID, okay? Again, we are in a season where the political landscape is heating up. And this again will affect a lot of things that happen in construction. So there are a myriad of factors that influence the cost of construction. So you find that all these play a part in influencing what eventually will be the cost of construction. Okay. So a cost component has the cost of materials, cost of labor, plant and equipment. And you see that anything that happens in the economy, like I'm sure you're all aware about prices of steel, prices of cement, how it has been fluctuating. So that has an effect on the cost of construction. So a general answer will be that, but a specific answer will be to that individual, what is it that you're constructing, okay? And that there's cost data that will help someone like that to be able to find out what it will cost, okay? But if you're talking of major infrastructural projects and roads, highways and all, then you're likely to have other issues coming into play. We have seen, if you're talking about a developer who's coming up with their major development, then the other factors that I've mentioned still will come into place. Then also the other thing will be which is the procurement system or the project delivery system that you're going to use. The traditional approach is where you complete design and then you go to the construction phase of the project. But now people are embracing other project delivery systems like design and build. We have like what we're using for this, what do you call this highway? Expressway. It's a different arrangement. And of course, cost certainty there may not be the same as the traditional procurement system. So without talking too much, I think it will depend on, first, when you're asking about what it will cost, what is it that you want to build? And also I've mentioned the factors that will influence the cost of the project that you want to implement. So a lot of factors impinge on that. And of course, when the project becomes more complex, now you have to involve consultants and you have to pay them. There's a PM, CPM, PM/CPM, and then the other plans, architect, QS, and also that is part of cost of construction. So that is what I would say on that. So it depends, and it will matter on the needs of the particular individual who wants to know what it will cost to do the project.
So it's like a domino effect where you have the prices
Yes.
of other commodities affect the overall price of construction.
Okay. So as I was saying, it's a great achievement to hear what the experts in the field have to say. And honestly, in this construction industry, among the main key things that are considered for a project to be viable are the three things: the time, cost, and what kind of work, the quality that is supposed to be produced. Now, when we look at the current state of the economy, we will say that according to where the economy stands right now, maybe I start with you, Mr. Michael. What do you think, considering the current state of the economy, are more people able to finance these projects? Are they able to see them through to the point that now we can say the construction industry is still growing? Or do you think that the current state of the economy will also have a huge effect on the growth of the construction industry?
Thank you, Joy. And I think as QS David has alluded, there are very many factors that come into play when you're looking at a construction project. And depending on the kind of project, it is good to classify them. We can have an individual who is putting up their small construction, could be a residential building, or it could be a small entity that is putting up probably a commercial building for commercial purposes, or then it could be a large infrastructural project. So depending on the client, the effect of the economy is different at those particular levels. Now look at it from the perspective of an individual. If it is an individual, then you're looking at probably this person having put aside some savings, or if not some savings, then he or she maybe requires financing from a bank. And again, as the QS has said, you'll start looking at interests and other factors that come with it. Now, we cannot completely blame the economy for that particular matter, because we are in this time and projects have to take place. So what I would advise the clients is to look at, I think the best is usually to look at how capable they are with the little finances that they have to undertake a particular project. And that is why mostly when they come to the consultants, the very first question is, what is your budget? Because you'll find a client being very ambitious, wants to put up a project that is worth, say, 20 million, and they can only afford to raise 2 million for that particular project. And you see, it is never the wish of any architect, any QS, or any other engineer or project manager to be involved in a project that will stall after the funds run out. Our joy is usually to ensure that the client achieves their dream, they're able to deliver on their dream, because again, you see, it continues to stick with you that that particular project was with this particular consultants. So we would not want to be associated again also with projects that stall every other time, but we want projects that will be completed on time and within budget. So I think looking at all those factors, and there are very many factors that come into play, which again, I would say our, not blaming, but our clients never want to take into consideration, because when you're looking at things as they are right now, apart even from the economy again is affected by the political temperatures that are in the country at the moment. Like right now, people do not want to invest. They want to hold back the investments until they're very sure what kind of leadership is coming into place. That is the uncertainty that we are playing around, and more especially in the African continent, because again, we are never sure of what kind of leaders we're going to get tomorrow to lead this particular country. Now, just to add on that, I think again, other factors that come into play, I could just probably name them. Number one, the geographical settings of of our country. If you're building in Mombasa, you're building in Nakuru, you're building in Kisumu, or you're building in Northeastern, the geographical settings again influence the kind of cost that will come into play. The social settings, again, as human beings, you know, you'd want to be associated with a particular social class. So you'd find somebody being probably too ambitious in putting up, maybe they're small construction, maybe they just needed a 2-bedroom house, but you find somebody putting up a 5-bedroom house because of the social class that they want to be associated with. We've talked about the economy. And again, another factor is legal factors. And most of the times we find ourselves overlooking some of these things. But you find that a legal element, maybe in a contract that you had, ends up affecting you or affecting the project because it was ignored right from the beginning. And then we also have technological variables. Technology is changing. You find yourself going out and purchasing, say, electrical equipment or fittings, which in say 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line become obsolete, and you're no longer able to replace them. You need to do a complete overhaul of that particular equipment or fitting. So there are very many factors that come into play when you're talking about the cost of building in a particular area. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Michael. Maybe now over to you, Mr. Choka. Being a QS in this current economy, has that affected your work in any way? Do you meet those clients that are overambitious? They want to undertake their projects. They do not have enough money. How do you go about the costing? How do you convince them that actually the prices in the market have actually risen and they need to budget for something that is within what they have? Yes.
Thank you, Joy. The economy has quite affected a lot of our clients, whether it be individual or corporate clients. And one of the challenges that we have, and this I always even tell my students when I'm teaching them costing and estimating and budgeting or project viability and appraisal, that from the very inception, before even you are able to get elaborate information in terms of working details, designs, and drawings, the client will always want to know what will be their budget implications. Even when you have before even the client's brief is actually clearly defined, they will ask you as a QS, how much do you think this project will cost? So of course, as QSs, we have methods or techniques that we use at the very initial stages, but we normally give them a range. Okay, if you're saying it's a school project or a hotel project, we use historical data or data that is provided by like the IQSK, the Ministry of Works, to give them a tentative budget. so that from the beginning they have a range. Because the moment you commit yourself to a figure from the very beginning, the client will not be able to understand when you're doing your final accounts. You told me this project will cost X. Now, at final account stage, it is costing 3 times. Are you really an expert in your area? So they even start to doubt your professionalism in terms of guiding them. So you have to work very closely with all consultants from the very beginning, so that you what I call manage the expectations, right, from the very beginning. And you tell them this information is based on scanty details. We have not yet even started the designs, but be advised that this is the range that we will be able to work within. So there are those ones who come with a fixed budget. There are those ones who will say everything you work must work within this, and we're not going to change. All right. And you find that mostly in the public sector, where I've worked most of my professional life, you find that it is a fixed budget and there is no room for, or very little room for trying to get variations to the budget. So now, if you're talking about, from a cost perspective or a cost change perspective, you say we have a lump sum contract sum, which is fixed, or we have contracts that have within them what you call a fluctuations clause that allows us, in the case of change of prices, and mostly it's for projects more than 1 year, more than 1.5 years. From the time we are drafting the contract documents, we are cognizant of that the prices will possibly never be the same or will change for a period that is more than 18 months. Definitely things will have changed. But this was for times where things were a bit stable. But now it is so volatile, even within a span of 3 months, 6 months, prices have, like fuel, which is a major determinant of prices. You have seen how it has fluctuated within a very short time. So we find that even the lump sum projects that we have, where we are saying the tenders have been done, the contractors have said we'll do this work for 100 million. This is less than 1 year. You come midstream in the project and fuel has gone possibly by 20 shillings extra. The steel prices have gone up. Yet your contractor had priced, for example, at 150 per kg. Now, if you look at what is currently there, it's not tenable, all right? And the contract is a lump sum contract that is fixed. So now you have to go to the way of variations. If it's in the public sector, there's usually you can work within only a certain limit, all right? So you see that now it becomes even a challenge when you're administering projects, and you find that a few of the clients have had issues because the contractors midstream, they are even saying they want to terminate the projects because it's no longer tenable at the prices which they quoted, unless now you are able as a QS to able to invite claims, okay, claims, contractual claims, which the client is willing to honor. So just to answer your questions, of course, it has affected our plans in the sense that the economic factors have influenced the cost of construction, and it becomes even a challenge to implement a project. So